It takes a special kind of person to compete in a 6-hour race in a video game. The low gravity, the lack of oxygen, the other racers looking to end your run, the pirates ambushing from above. The canyon-riddled terrain, the vast stretches of mountains, the endless desert sands, the dark nights, and the friends you lose along the way. It's a bit much to go through, you would think. But then you meet the Star Citizen community, about 800 plus of them, and you realize they're not just battling the elements, they're dealing with janky physics, unstable servers, and the chaos of the huge problem child patch that was Star Citizen 4.0. It takes a special kind of person to compete in a race in Star Citizen, but there's still nothing else quite like it in gaming. Today I'm going to tell you the story of the Daymar Rally, how it works, why it runs, and why it's unlike anything you've ever seen. Because this year, it's finally running in a server-meshed environment for the first time, a major step forward for large-scale events in space. This is the Daymar Rally. Thank you for coming to my Tomato Talk. The Daymar Rally is an event that's been running in Star Citizen for more than half a decade. Based on the Dakar Rally created by Corsair and hosted annually by Atmo Esports, this event attracts thousands of viewers every year to watch the race unfold over several hours. 3 different divisions compete, offering the players the ability to race in buggies, trucks, or hoverbikes. Each group has pros and cons, and each awards its winners with merchandise and ships in-game. Besides, of course, the racers, you'll find a multitude of staff on site. Camera ships are closely following the race and transmitting progress back to the live show from all across the moon. Support ships will follow or lead overhead as they supply replacement vehicles, refueling efforts, and obstacle spotting from above. Security blankets the sky, constantly following players and watching the skies overhead. VIPs are flown around in a cruise ship overlooking the whole race. Additional staff is also on site for waypoint marking. And of course there's little old me, bobbing and weaving around, and literally getting myself blown up for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. I consider it a journalistic write-off. Where things really start to change from other games in this race though, is one more group that is free to join, if not encouraged to do so. Pirates. See, if you didn't catch the resemblance, there is some callback here to Star Wars pod racing, and the expectations of Star Citizen offering an open world in which thousands of players could potentially show up on this moon means the creators of this race actually expect folks to camp out on the track, fly in, or intercept via land vehicles to cause some trouble and disrupt the race. Literally, players can choose any number of ways to infiltrate this event, and that goes for any event in this live environment. While Star Citizen offers private servers and small bite-sized experiences in Arena Commander, many players actually opt to host events like this in the live environment, specifically because of the possibility it offers in bringing everybody together. This is a central component of Star Citizen. It offers an incredible mix-up and risk during events, creating unforeseen scenarios and keeping everybody on their toes, encouraging the training and hiring of security, providing more gameplay, and offering more diverse ways to challenge and surprise participants. Racers can shoot at each other as well, but it's really the pirates that want to get in for a scrap. And I'll say this too, the race I was covering was attacked by pirates multiple times, and I got to see many times where racers had to flee and security had to track down and destroy these pirates. Most of the servers actually did get attacked to some extent, and while they didn't cause too much of a problem, some of them were trying a little too hard, in my opinion. To me, this seems like a fun opportunity to roleplay a bit, cause a little bit of a fuss, and be a pirate, get some reputation, make a name for yourselves, but some of these folks seemed almost hell-bent on specifically ruining the racers' days instead of just playing the part and giving security some trouble and being a pirate. It was interesting to see. All of these parties, these groups making up over 800 players, clashed together across 4 shards. The previous year, they used 10 shards. So this was a vast improvement. It's not quite the vision of what Star Citizen is supposed to be, but it's a good step forward for the game in general. We'll talk in a bit about how it actually handled all these players though. Daymar is a moon of diversity. Continuous canyons, rolling hills, imposing mountains, rock-covered plains, and sand for as far as the eye can see. A full day-night cycle means players need to master navigation by daylight and by starlight. And the smallest deviation in paths over this 500-kilometer course can make a pretty big difference in your position. And over the course of 5 hours, racers need to monitor their oxygen levels, their food intake, their hydration, and even the heat levels in their vehicle. If you aren't in a heat-resistant suit or cockpit, the heat of Daymar can actually overheat and kill you. You can also find yourself getting lost in sandstorms, losing wheels off of your vehicle, or even finding yourself flipped over and needing a little help. It's not an easy path to take, and it's hard to fathom until you've been on the ground looking up out of the canyon at the planet as it looms overhead and you just realize the scale of the whole thing. While this is definitely not fun for some people, this level of immersion in an endurance race like this is everything some people want out of their space game. Of course, all who know Star Citizen know an event like this is a success if it doesn't end in disaster. For as long as the game has been in development, it is still not release ready, and thus a healthy dose of chaos is always guaranteed. Out of the 4 servers being used, 1 server didn't even start, and another never made it past the 40-kilometer mark. There were several false starts from the other servers, and like most years, the final countdown took quite some time to synchronize, eventually just leading to the servers having to launch on separate times. And only 2 servers stayed alive for the whole race. The hope is eventually everybody in the race will be in one shard and one instance competing against each other. Right now, there are still a lot of problems that stop that from being a reality. Along with this, many of the usual bugs were present to cause more problems than the pirates themselves. Party markers weren't working, so it was difficult to tell who around you was a foe or a friend, or who anybody was. Since all the distance tracking from checkpoints to finish lines depended on this party marker system, it was pretty hard to track player progress and what positions everybody was in. It also meant that anybody who flew into the area needed to be voice verified. Star Citizen is also still not handling ground vehicles all that well. It's been a while, but still they are way too floaty and lofty, even on full gravity planets. This, along with the constant weaving back and forth around rocks, meant progressing at speed for any extended length of time was often virtually impossible, and players often felt like they were fighting the vehicle as much as the vehicles were fighting Daymar. It's still worth noting that with these technical problems, the game still performed better than ever. Part of this was CIG leaning on the scales a bit to make sure the servers played nice, though they weren't exclusive private servers. But another part of this was the server meshed aspect. While players throughout the rest of the game were mining, looting enemy corpses and bunkers, exploring pyro outposts, and low-flying around the moons of Hurston, this race was able to exist here, on the moon of Daymar, separated from everything else on its own server. Right now, this is a manual process, and it has been done in the current live environment. Each planet has its own server. But dynamic server meshing is the next step that would allow servers like these to dynamically resize and recalibrate to handle larger or smaller amounts of players in different areas. It saves money on servers, it leads to incredibly dense player population possibilities, and it helps the game run better overall. The Daymar Rally was our first test of this at the static level. With 200 plus players in some of the specific servers hosting the race, it was our first chance to see how the game might perform with a large structured event that drew many players into one area. And I can say this, one of the big problems they have right now is the party system in the main menu, because that was a slideshow. The local performance in-game though was definitely better, and the rest of the shards seemed to do well while we were racing. But it's not necessarily a gold star in performance. There are still many things that Star Citizen needs to figure out before this kind of thing can be made more reliable. The Daymar Rally offers a glimpse at what Star Citizen could become, given the player interaction, community involvement, and the pure scale of the event. But we're used to praising the potential of Star Citizen. We'd like to, start praising the game itself. Many want to see these events become more normal without asking you to sacrifice a whole day at the chance of not getting to even compete. And there is still more to be added to this event. One of the greatest challenges players are meant to overcome is the damage the environment does to your vehicle. From overheating to losing wheels to simply taking too much damage, the realities of vehicular damage are already felt by racers, but there's still no way to repair. Eventually, teams will have to keep one vehicle alive and fueled throughout the whole race, rather than switching off. With engineering on the horizon-ish, this may be the standout difference in next year's race if they can launch by then. But no matter what features they've added, there's always one aspect of this race that has kept it going for so long, if you haven't noticed. The community is ultimately the driving force behind the Daymar Rally and Star Citizen at large. With no publishing company or massive backers to fund the game, it's been made from the players, with a little extra money sprinkled here and there. This spirit follows in the tools that can be used to navigate the game, from trading, finding locations, finding items, learning about the development, and so on. Players have led the way in creating tools that help you navigate the game. They also have in marketing the game, showing the real potential of the sandbox through masterpiece RP videos, amazing machinima classics, awesome gameplay series, virtual photography, various groups and organizations that specialize in certain things that you can join, my own organization included, and many, many more ways you can get involved in the game. I mean, even the new player experience was left to the players up until just the last few years, and even now you're usually going to need a YouTube guide or a friend or global chat to help you figure things out. So it only tracks that the biggest event in the game, something that has been officially added to the lore of the game, is 100% player run and organized. From players to security, to pirates, VIPs, pilots, support, racers, and even the random miner flying to the nearby outpost for a pit stop are all there for their own reasons and at least trying to coexist in an open environment. The camaraderie these types of events builds is strong. And it takes a really dedicated, long-term fan base to put things like this together and run them well enough to have this kind of a success on their hands. While there are still organization issues, underprepared players, difficulty with the game, glitches, and just all kinds of things that can and do go wrong at specific times, it goes to show just how much people simply want to play in an open space environment. Star Citizen continues to succeed because it offers a unique experience. And we can see other games offering or aiming to offer similar experiences as well because it is something that players want. Until another game can match these possibilities, I will continue to be impressed at what Star Citizen's open space environment and the creativity that simply providing that environment, no matter how broken, can bring. The Daymar Rally reveals some of the best and the worst of Star Citizen. From the deadly course to the deadly pirates, the camaraderie between racers and the support staff, both on the track and off year-round. These events offer an incredibly unique opportunity for space game fans to make use of the huge scale of Star Citizen, the capabilities of its engine, and the determination of the community. It's not alone either. There are several race leagues and events hosted throughout the year put on by players, and there are just as many in-game race courses both in closed servers and in the persistent universe that you can experience at your own pace in whatever ship you like, and even place on leaderboards on the website. Racing is just a small part of the Star Citizen project, but it's certainly not one to be taken lightly. There are also dedicated ships meant for the competitive scene, and a whole guild dedicated to competition sports in the future. It's why we recently created a competition division in the org. But I'm interested in hearing what you think of this event. Will Star Citizen ever overcome its challenges to fully deliver on this vision? Do you think these events have a place in gaming if the game can run well enough? Will you try this out yourself? All you have to do is hit the link down below and go to daymarrally.com, and all the information will be at your fingertips. If you enjoyed this look into the event, consider liking the video and letting YouTube know. And if you're looking for more content like this, consider subscribing here or checking out my second channel, Space Tomato 2, for podcasts and stream clips, or Space Tomato Plays for some more gameplay. Whatever you prefer, I appreciate you watching this till the end. I hope you learned something new, and I'll catch you in the next.